Today's episode is brought to you by Primetime Sports Talk, your top source for all major sports content, including DFS, fantasy advice, and great gambling tips. Be sure to head to primetimesportstalk.com to check out their in-depth analysis, exclusive articles, fascinating interviews, and explore the rest of their amazing podcast family. Again, primetimesportstalk.com, your go-to spot for sports content. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode number 11 of the From the A to the Bay podcast. Kevin Dana here, Jordan Watkins here. Katie, how you doing? And actually, how are the brackets doing?
Yeah, so the brackets took a major league hit when Ohio State lost, because on the men's side, I had them going to the Elite Eight. Then they took a further hit when Illinois lost, which I had going to the national championship game.
Ooh,
so
that's right.
that was not good. On the women's side, I thought I'd get crazy and pick Oregon to lose in the first round. That did not work out too well. I was just thinking they weren't playing well going into the tournament. They lost a couple of games to Oregon State, who was on fire, and South Dakota has a pretty good just resume, just kind of one of those mid-majors that the last few years have been playing really well. So that didn't help. My bracket was almost a disaster on the women's side in the first and second round with Texas A&M, who I have going to the Final Four.
That's right.
And I am feeling less and less comfortable about that. But hey, in the words of the venerable Vin Diesel, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning, he once said to the late, great Paul Walker in the first Fast and the Furious. So they're still hooping, barely. So that could have been a huge disaster. I had Stephen F. Austin going to the Sweet 16, thought I'd get clever there. Now Georgia Tech, which, Stephen F. Austin probably should have beaten Georgia Tech. No disrespect to any people on this podcast who might like the Yellow Jackets due to where they're from. But
not naming any names or anything.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to think. My Elite Eight is – my Elite Eight is not intact because I had UCLA going to the Elite Eight. They just kind of ran out of bodies, and they've been playing with 8 players all season, and it caught up to them last night. Yeah, last night being Wednesday night because we're recording this on Thursday morning.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, even just early on, Texas in that defense against UCLA was absolutely smothering. And I got that wrong. Obviously, I'm always going to pick a Pac-12 team whenever I can. But the one time that I didn't, that's come to bite me because I picked Georgia to beat Oregon. Yeah. And Oregon took care of that one. Let's see, what else am I doing on my women's side? All I know is, at least for now, my Final Four is still intact, which is good. Let's see, Georgia's out of my Elite Eight. UCLA's out of my Elite Eight. So I have 6 teams left.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I got 7 left. But you have Stanford, South Carolina, Baylor, and Arizona.
In
right?
Arizona, yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Stanford, South Carolina, Baylor, A&M.
Okay.
How's your men's bracket looking?
Yeah, so far, not too bad. Let's see. Elite Eight-wise, I think I have 5 teams left. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 5 teams. 1 team in the Final Four, though, is out.
Okay.
But, again, it was a Pac-12 team that did it, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I have 6 of my Elite Eight, but I have one of my national champion participants and one of my one of my national championship participants is Denzo. So
what would have been like the big surprises for you so far on both sides?
Yeah, I mean, well, on the men's side, Oral Roberts getting to the Sweet 16. I remember they actually came to Maples Pavilion in the 2009-10 season. Mm-hmm. And I want to say, I should have looked this up. I want to say the guy's name was Dominic Morrison. I could be wrong. He had like 30 or 31 in the game, and he hit a buzzer beater. Stanford lost on like 3 buzzer beaters that year. Like, they were really undermanned. Josh Owens was out for the year. They didn't have they weren't that deep that year talent wise, but like they played their asses off, and I thought that was really Johnny Dawkins' best coaching job to get that team to the Pac-12 tournament or Pac-10 tournament at the time, semifinals. So I've seen Oral Roberts play in person now. It was 11 years ago, and obviously nobody was on that team. That's definitely the big surprise for me on the men's side. Also the Pac-12, how well the Pac-12 has done. We knew on the women's side that they were gonna. I had 3 teams going to the Sweet 16 for the Pac-12, not the 3 teams that made it, but I think we all knew that the Pac-12 on the women's side was going to make a deep run. I've learned to become very skeptical of the Pac-12 on the men's side, and I mean, I did have USC going to the Elite Eight. I did have USC playing Oregon in the Sweet 16, so that's like the one thing I did right on my bracket. But yeah, Oregon State in the Sweet 16. UCLA as a first four participant in the Sweet 16
without two of their best players. Colorado,
getting to the second round and putting up a good fight for 32 minutes or so against who I have going to the Final Four, Florida State. I've just been floored by how well the Pac-12 has done. I mean, they came into the tournament with 5 teams and only one has been eliminated. And it was only 3 years ago when the Pac-12 went 0-3. In the opening, they lost a couple of first 4 games. I think both UCLA and Arizona State were first 4 participants that year. I could have that wrong. And then Arizona was a 4 seed and got blown out by 13th seeded Buffalo.
That's right.
And it's just like everyone wanted to skewer the Pac-12. And, we've had a couple of seasons where there's been 2 teams to make the tournament. Now the Pac-12, which just shouldn't happen as a power conference.
I agree.
It's just – but, I mean, they didn't deserve more than 2 teams.
No, for sure. And I feel like on the other side of the coin, the big surprise for me has been how poorly the Big Ten has played. Everybody coming in, and rightfully so, everyone coming into this tournament, this is the best conference in college basketball. And the funny thing about it to me is how people are now making the excuses for them. And that's the whole thing of, well, they just beat each other up in the regular season. They played everybody. But we were just talking about on the women's side, the Pac-12 played everybody. And I think everyone knows the Pac-12 is the best conference in women's college basketball. Yet here they are still advancing. I think they've lost, one or 2 teams so far. Yet, so why is that not the excuse for them? But you're going to try to use that excuse for the Big Ten. It doesn't add up. It's just call it what it is. They just weren't as good as we thought they were.
Yeah, and we also hear that like how that argument doesn't work for Pac-12 football, right? Like because like the North a few years was super deep, and the South has been super deep. And it's like, well, why do all these teams have 2 losses and 3 losses? Well, they beat up on each other, but like nobody wants to buy that, and you can't lose more than one time and get into the college football playoff. But it seems like other conferences sometimes get a free pass with that. Oh, well, the conference is too tough.
Right, and I'm sorry, this is crazy because obviously today's the trade deadline.
Yeah, so, my phone's been.
One just went through. Vucevic, Al-Farouq Aminu to the Bulls for Otto Porter, Wendell Carter Jr., and 2 first-rounders.
Wow.
Okay, Chicago.
Yeah,
first off, that makes me happy because that means I don't have to deal with Vucevic in the division anymore.
Yes.
Goodness, he tears us up. He is underappreciated.
He is so good.
Yes.
Wow. That's one of my boys was just texting me the Bleacher Report and Woj tweets. The Chicago Bulls this year, I mean, Billy Donovan's done a heck of a job. Like I know they're 5 games under 500, but they've been kind of irrelevant I guess they went to the playoffs 3 or 4 years ago, but they've just kind of felt irrelevant for a while. And it's good it's good for the league when the Bulls are good. And Billy Donovan has that team headed in the right direction. And getting Vucevic is a huge plus for this team. I think that this definitely solidifies them as a top 10 team in the East without question.
Absolutely. And also shows you what they think about not only just their team this year, but where their trajectory going forward. Yeah. And because, now you look at it, if he continues to grow, you have a front court potentially Vucevic and Lauri Markkanen, which both guys can, they can play down low, stretch all the way outside to 3. You have 2 explosive guards in Kobe White, Zach LaVine. Like this is something looks like it's finally coming together. And also on the Billy Donovan front, I've been saying this even when he was at Oklahoma City, where it's like it's not like he's a bad coach. Yeah. This is a solid NBA coach. Like just because you're not making it to the conference finals or the NBA finals every year, that doesn't mean that you're a bad coach in this league.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that he's at least trending in a good direction right now in Chicago, so we can start to get that credit again that he deserves.
Yeah, I mean, he had to deal with a lot of stuff at
Well,
Oklahoma
yeah.
City, with a lot of like player drama and stuff, and they were always competitive. They were always in the playoffs. First of all, he was a Klay Thompson heater away from going to the NBA Finals in
Mm-hmm.
2016. Yeah, he's just done a really good job wherever he's been. I mean, there was kind of that, before Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan, there was kind of that perception of college coaches that if you go from college to the NBA, you're not going to win in the NBA. Like,
Chicago saw that
yeah,
with
and
Hoiberg.
so yeah, with Hoiberg, who they kind of mortgaged. It felt like they mortgaged a lot on Hoiberg becoming like the savior of that franchise, and
Mm-hmm.
they just went down. I mean, they made the playoffs barely a couple of years, and then just completely fell off the face of the earth. So I mean, Donovan is a hell of a coach, and
Absolutely.
like he didn't have that much different of a roster coming into this year for a team that didn't even make the bubble last year and had them competitive, and they like were bad to start this season too. They did not get off to a good start, um, and,
Absolutely.
and so for them to be where they're at, yeah, I'm just really impressed, and like you mentioned the young core, that team's gonna be in the thick of a playoff race for years to come.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the more you get to keep Zach LaVine around, the more Kobe's going to grow, Lowry's going to grow, and you're in a big market. So
Yep.
whenever free agency pops up or the big free agents out there, you're always going to be in the running for them as long as you have something around them where it's like, okay, I can see something that they're building. I can see the trajectory that they're going. I can see myself being in Chicago.
100%. They also got that top 5 pick, Patrick
That's
Williams,
right.
who they've been starting and they really like. He's not going to be a guy who's going to give you 20 a game, but he's definitely a big rotation piece, very good defensively, and that's another kind of another chip there that they got.
Yeah, so keep your eyes peeled on Chicago. Some things are going on there. But since we already pivoted over to the NBA side, there was this interesting conversation that was going on the last day or two. So Draymond comes out, says he believes he's the best defender in the history of the NBA, and when he did, got the attention of the Grindfather, right?
Yeah.
Tony Allen of the Grindhouse Grizzlies, saying, you haven't been stamps. This is not true. It's cap. So Draymond goes back at him, talking about, but basically Draymond flipped the argument, right? He was talking about his offense in the series where it was basically 4 against 5. And
Yeah.
so Tony Allen said the same thing, hashtag call Clay. And he was on the morning roast yesterday. It was a phenomenal segment. Katie, what do you think? Where would you rank Draymond in terms of all-time defenders?
Yeah, see that's it's tough for me to do because I mean just because I don't like I know like Bill Russell was a great defender,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I never watched him play. Like I mean, I've seen highlights, but I haven't like actually watched it. Like I haven't really, he was in the league 17 years before I was born. So it's tough for me to make a definitive statement on best defender of all time. I will say I think was very underappreciated when he was, in those years in the mid 2010s when he
Mm-hmm.
was making cases for Defensive Player of the Year. I thought in 2015 he was robbed of Defensive
Yep.
Player. They gave it to Kawhi. Of course, not going to be too many complaints about Kawhi being defensive player, but I thought
Right.
Draymond was the better defensive player that year. He got his flowers in 2016. And I think maybe by then there was kind of a fatigue on giving Draymond Green awards, even though it was 1 year. Um, I will say I think he was definitely underappreciated at that time, even though he would let you know that he's the best defensive player of all time. So he's given himself the props. But that's tough to make as a historical argument, just because I couldn't even begin to tell you like pre 1998
Mm-hmm.
like who is just like a lockdown. I mean, I know Gary Payton was a lockdown defender, but like how much do I really remember him being a great defender versus how
Sure.
much do I remember everyone telling me he's a great defender?
Yeah.
Because I was just too young. So I don't know. That's a tough claim to make. On the flip side, I can definitively say I do think Michael Jordan's the best of all time. But I mean, just generally speaking. But for defense, when it's something like you have to actively like focus in on instead of just kind of taking a game in and just seeing where the ball goes. That yeah, I don't. I mean, hey, if he thinks if he thinks he's the greatest, good for him. Yeah, I I can't make a definitive distinction one way or another. What about you?
I like the way he defined it. It wasn't just hey, if it's a one-on-one situation, I'm locking somebody up every single time. It wasn't
Yeah,
like that. It was more so of the other things that really don't get stats for,
yeah,
right? I mean, obviously he's gonna be the quarterback, if you will, the whole defense.
yep,
It's because his IQ is off the charts, right? Like Rondo, LeBron, those guys are way up there, and everybody else is down here. Not to say other people aren't smart. It's just
yeah,
how they know the game is unbelievable.
hmm
And then, I mean, and I think about it this way: is he really necessarily a rim protector? He'll block shots, but I don't
yeah,
think of him as a shot blocker.
yeah,
He can get steals for you, but it's just like I think he does so many different things really well that it's who was it when Hines Ward was in the league for the NFL.
yeah,
The thing for him coming out of Georgia was he is really good at a lot of things, but not great at like one thing.
hmm
And it seems like Draymond's kind of like that, where
yeah,
he can guard 1 through 5.
mhm,
There's only a handful of guys in NBA history that have been able to do that.
yep,
Like I said, he will protect the rim for you some, can get the steals for you. So I understand where he's coming from. Would I have him as the best? No, not the best of all time, but I see where he's coming from in terms of you're not gonna. It's not because I have X amount of awards, or as Tony Allen even put it, not because he's shutting down Kobe or guys like that, but so many things that he does to affect the defense. I see where he's coming from.
yeah. I mean, he was the quarterback of a defense that went to the NBA Finals for 5 straight years, in large part not only because of the great shooting of Clay and Steph, but because of that defense. That defense was consistently, ranking among the best in the league, and
Yeah,
Draymond Green was the number one reason why.
you're not able to have that Hamptons 5 lineup without how good he was defensively.
Yeah, yeah,
Which and that was the fear of everyone, right? Was as soon as they go to that, all right, well, we know they're going to score every single time down. Now we have to get nervous and panic and try to take bad threes and match them, but we can't do that because we don't have the 2 or 3 best shooters in the world.
exactly.
That's Draymond's presence. You don't do that, or you don't have that without somebody who can be still somewhat of a paint defender like Draymond was.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess to your point, if I had to pick who is the greatest defender, oh, that's tough. Because I
Yeah,
mean, even then, depending on your position,
yeah,
how do you view a great defender? It's different.
yep, yeah,
If you're outside lockdown, you got to be a lockdown defender guy, get more steals. If you're inside, it's about blocks and things like that. So that's tough.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Gary Payton and Dikembe Mutombo too. Like, how do you judge those guys against each other?
Exactly. Which I guess is also kind of going with Draymond's point,
Yeah,
where it's okay, I don't have to go with just this metric or that metric. I can look at all of them when it comes to
yeah,
Draymond, which it's like, okay, I got you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, that's a tough one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm over here. I'm frantically looking at my iPad too, since today's John Collins Day for me. Um,
Yeah, I hope he stays with Atlanta.
they
I,
better. I mean, it would none of what they've done in the last 2 weeks will make sense to me if they trade him.
yeah,
You change head coaches because you thought this is what you needed as a spark to make that push. You just got Bogey back. DeAndre Hunter's just getting back. Chris Dunn might be getting back in the next few games or so. I'm not fully sure. So why is it that if you wanted to make the playoffs, why would you make a move that would then hinder you or hurt your chances of making the playoffs?
yeah. No, Yeah, that was the whole goal with this team this season.
Heck
And
yeah.
John Collins that was just the future is so bright with this dude. Um, you know, touches or not that he gets, which I know like was reported as kind of a
Mhm.
concern early in the year. Like, was there enough touches for both he and for him and Trey Young? But man, just he's just such an incredible lob threat. He's so skilled. Just you got to make that work. You got to try. You can't give up on the John Collins Trey Young
No.
tandem right now.
And the thing for me is if there aren't enough touches for him, who do you think is going to come in for him where there will be enough touches for?
Yeah,
Because right now, John is trying to scratch the surface of being a true number 2 option in the league.
yeah.
And again, like when I say that, I'm saying like in terms of deep playoff run type team. He's trying to get to that number 2 level. And when you think about other guys who are number 2s in the league, they get a whole lot more touches than he does.
Oh yeah.
So at that point, who do you think is going to come in then if he's having a problem saying he's not getting enough touches? Who do you think you can get that would be cool with that amount of touches?
Yeah, exactly. Especially someone who's in their mid to late 20s. No
Right.
way.
And if
So
they're established in this league, absolutely not.
yeah, and just like that core is so young. Your two best players in their early 20s, like, and the fact that they are 22 and 22 with the injuries they've had, 22 and 22 at the time of this podcast recording, like, it is pretty impressive when you think
For
about
sure.
it. So I don't. Yeah, I don't see why there's reason to panic. And since we're speaking of the Hawks, like, I didn't realize that Tony Snell was a 56% three-point shooter
That
this year.
boy.
I mean, I just looked at him, as like this defensive guy. Yeah, he had some three-point abilities. I didn't realize he was that dead-eye. And I'm looking at his career right now, and he's consistently been high 30s, low
Right.
40s. But, man, 56%?
Yeah, when it was a few weeks ago, so I think it's when he hit the game winner against Tampa, Toronto, and it was one of my friends. And he sent me, it's like this is he was saying something that was like a jab at Cal Corver, like a funny little jab at Cal Corver, and I was sitting here, it's like, don't you dare compare anybody to Cal Corver.
That's
Like,
Waddy's boy.
if anybody knows, Cal Corver's my guy. Don't you say anything about him. And then I looked on Twitter, highest field 3-point percentage in the league. It's like, oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh, maybe it wasn't that bad after all.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, he's been absolutely lights out. Which has been great because, as you mentioned, all those injuries that we've had, I still don't know how long Cam Reddish is going to be out. Like I said, DeAndre Hunter's just getting back in the swing of things. So the fact that he was able to step in and he's been shooting the way he has, it's been huge.
Yeah.
It's been huge. And of course, when it comes down that stretch, you got to be able to have guys to knock down those shots.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly, maybe this is bringing up a sore point, but they should be on a 10-game win streak right now.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Like, they've really been playing well under McMillan. They were a 20-point blown lead away against the Clippers, and then last night had some issues late against the Kings.
What's an Atlanta team without a big blown lead, Kevin?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that hurts. But we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, this is going to be fun. My guy, Ryan Dillard, is going to be in here. We're going to talk about his last year working with the 49ers and possibly what they're looking for towards the future as well. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, everyone. Welcome back to From the A to the Bay podcast. It is my pleasure to introduce 49ers prep coordinator and the birthday boy, Ryan Dillard's with us. What's going on, Ryan? Happy birthday. How's it going?
Happy birthday.
I appreciate it. Everything's going solid. Just starting the day out good. Got some meditation in, my daily devotional, and just got through working out. So, yeah, everything's solid so far. How y'all doing?
Sure, doing what? Was it Mike Peel today? What was the workout?
Oh, no Mike Peel. I need to get some Mike Peel in, though. But, no, it was just regular boxing workout. This dude named Nate Bauer. So I watched his YouTube video. So he's pretty dope.
Okay, cool.
For the uninitiated, what is a Mike Peel?
So Mike Peel, his dad actually showed him to me earlier during the pandemic. He has like dance workouts on YouTube. They're like usually around like 30, 35 minutes long. and like these things, they get you. Like I'll usually burn 450 calories
Ooh,
during
okay.
that workout. Like it's cool because you learn a whole routine and you do it over and over to like some mixes that I guess either he or his DJ makes. It's really cool.
Yeah.
What kind of mixes are like? What are we listening to during these
Oh,
30 minutes?
it's different. They have like different themes depending on which workout it is. Sometimes it's like some old school R&B. Sometimes you got some older hip hop. Like it's a mix. It's pretty cool.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's dope. And my dad's like, he's like loves these. He does like 2 routines a day,
Hmm.
just about, does some walking on the treadmill. But I think what's so cool about it is the way he breaks it down. Like you would
Yeah.
never think like you could learn this whole like dance routine, but him going through the steps and repeatedly like doing it over again, that repetition like feeds into just everything you're doing. And so by the end, you're like, dang, I learned a whole routine. And it's like, and he breaks it down. It's easy. So that's what I love
Hmm.
about it. And you don't realize you're working everything, your whole body. So it's dope.
Nice. Yeah, that's one I'll definitely have to try from the privacy of my own home.
Hey, don't worry. When I do mine, I make sure the blinds are closed. Everything's closed. Like no, everything's locked. You can't see it. Oh man. But yeah, let's get into it, man. So obviously with prep, I know you do so much with kids out here in the Bay, whether it's camps. I've been fortunate to work some of them with you and for you. What's the last year been looking like on that front? Because obviously, I know you haven't been able to be in person. You're actually in Atlanta right now.
Mhm.
What's that been looking like, and how have you and the rest of the team trying to get around not being able to be with the kids in person?
It's been so interesting. I know last year around this time, it was, I think, the second week of March where we had just got back from our youth football conference in Vegas. And so everything was shutting down, like the airports and stuff were starting to shut down, and everybody was starting to freak out. So we got a notification that was saying like, hey, like everybody work from home these, next couple of weeks, and let's see how everything goes. And then that got pushed back to literally like a year or so. And so what we've done, we were trying to figure out, what are ways we can still stay engaged with kids throughout this, time. And a lot of it was, okay, we're going to have to figure out how to transition and do it in a virtual setting. And so what we've done, we started out with, we work really closely with Special Olympics of Northern California and Nevada. And we started out by doing a virtual workout with them. And that was super dope. They loved it. We had about like 200 kids or so. And we
Hmm.
were like, you know what? We can do some more of these. So that was one way, the virtual workouts. The next way, my guy Nazam, he is our flag football manager, and so we were looking to do something that could work with his like programming. And so one was a flag football virtual training camp. So what we did was, for me, I'm like outside my backyard doing these like drills, and like literally we put together a program that's showing you how to do like quarterback fundamentals, how to do running back fundamentals, how to do wide receiver, like just going down the list of offensive, defense, and showing them agility drills you can do with like ladders, four cones, like. And what we did was we recorded these, edited them on my iMovie app on my phone, and literally we put those on our website, and kids were able to follow along with it. So it's cool to see how we've been able to like literally I've like built up, like I can literally edit and like do all this stuff on iMovie. It's been wild to see just how it's all come together. But and then besides that, from the flag football virtual training camp stuff that we did what we call now a virtual fitness program. And so that is takes the place of what we have are like our in-school activations. So those would usually be when we're in person. We go to different junior training camp. We go to different schools, elementary, middle schools, and we play football with them, teach them about the fundamentals. And so what we did was we were like, okay, we want kids to still stay active and healthy, even if it's in the comforts of their own home. And so we put together exercises and drills that they could do as far as like just regular, like how to do a push-up, how to do, a squat, how to do dips, like, and just showing them that they can still exercise in their home. So that's kind of like what we've been up to, and just kind of continuing to build on that platform.
Yeah, Ryan, for me personally, you're a really interesting guest to have on because I come from more of the basketball world. And when I think about, kind of coaching kids outside of like a normal school team setting, like, that's AAU on the basketball side. And obviously you can't have kids play in pads and tackle football 12 months out of the year. That's just not going to work. But what is like that skill development like, for, kind of off season stuff for kids in the sport of football? I know I know that you've at least played basketball because I played against you, at the gym. But I'm not sure what your basketball background is, but what is that like, being a coach, not with necessarily like a team, but just trying to get kids to, to love the sport of football and to develop their skills, outside of a traditional team setting?
It's been interesting. I think it all comes down to having the want to for the kid. Like the kid has to have the want to, want to watch videos or want to train, want to work out. Like it can't be from anybody else. Like you can motivate them a little bit, but at the end of the day, that has to come from within and they have to want to do that. And so it's cool. I think a lot of times what I've learned about with kids is that, the energy that you put out, like they're going to feed off that. They're going to reciprocate that and then be like, dang, like, he's hyped. He's like loving what he's doing. Like, I want to get on that same level, be that same energy. And so it's cool that, when you put that out into the universe through like exercise videos, drills, whatever, like virtual workouts, like people see that and the kids love it. They love, that energy, and that's what gets them going. So, if we can continue to do that and motivate them and give them a resource, then we're all for it. That's what we want to do, like as far as like our prep department, and that's what it's all about, getting kids, introducing them to the game of football, and, whether it's like, them learning a little bit or maybe saying like, this is maybe not for them, but at least teaching them and allowing them to have an experience, whether that's, with the Niners or, at a camp or whatever it may be, or virtually.
So talk me through this, because I know you've been around coaching for a long time now, right? Whether it's helping out with your dad or just watching them all the way up through now. One thing I'm curious about, have you seen, or anything you remember, have you seen maybe a change in numbers of how many people show up as of like the last few years and maybe a few years before, just because of, I feel like a lot of parents, especially more so compared out here than like say in Georgia, they get worried with the concussion studies that continuously come out. Have you seen like a change in numbers there, or like do you do anything or say anything to kind of help keep the parents a little less afraid of putting their kids out in football?
So I think, the Bay Area has been interesting. There are so many things to do in the Bay. And I think that's another thing why sometimes we feel like football is kind of on a decline in a sense. And, the main thing we want to ensure parents is that it's okay. Like a lot of them are in a sense scared because like you said, the concussion protocol, that's something that's been big, lately. And we're trying to ensure them that, it's fine to like put them in flag. And so a lot of parents are resorting to flag more. And I think that's a great thing. That's introducing to the game, allowing kids to be able to still play and, learn the game. And if they want to transition to pads, then all good, like perfectly fine. But I think having flag as another alternative has been so helpful for just kids in general nowadays. And, this is one thing that we're trying to just continually encourage, because football sometimes in the Bay, or like in the Bay, as far as like right now, it's been hard to like keep that going with the pandemic and everything. And so we're just trying to keep like still grow the game, as much as we can with like flag and any like programs that we can do. So
you bring up an interesting point regarding flag football, because it does feel like the popularity of flag football, in that age group is certainly, ticked up. Do you think there might be kind of like a future for flag football at maybe like a high school level where it kind of becomes like a high school sanctioned sport?
To be honest, yes. I feel like, maybe as an alternative, I know what's actually really cool is that they just got women's flag football. It's actually like an actual high school sport in like certain states.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Atlanta for sure, and I believe Florida as well.
Okay.
So we're looking, like the Bay is looking to hopefully do that as well. And we've actually been in talks with Hawaii to hopefully, get them as a sanctioned state for having women's flag football as one as well. But, I think it will be a little harder for men's, because of course we have like pads football anyways, but
Yeah.
yeah, women, it's been dope to see that, girls are getting that opportunity and like love that. So yeah.
Hey, I'm all with it. Just another sport for Georgia to dominate in, man. That's the only way I look at it. But no, I'm glad we talked about this because I thinking back to some of the camps, especially the youth camps. Sometimes we do high school camps, sometimes it's for the kids, but there definitely has been a good amount and an increasing amount, at least what I've noticed, of young girls that go and show up and they have so much fun. I think the stat as of late was what 47% of NFL fans are women. So just tell me about that. Like, how cool is that to see? All the little girls that are out playing and just I guess combating the perception of what football is of being this masculine sport where it's like, no, you got the little girls out here playing and having fun too.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome to see, one for of course like it being a male dominated sport for to one show up is like just awesome. Like the fact that we had, I think it was like two or three girls that showed up to our skills camp last year. I thought that was so dope because they were like just doing their thing, like nothing fazed them. And I love that they are confident representing and like they should be. Like they're doing what they're skilled at what they do. And it was just cool to see. I know we had like two kickers and one wide receiver. And it was just it's really cool to see how just like they've grown and like they've just continued to just ball out and do what they do. And I think another thing is like we've seen like there were a bunch of girls at our 3-day camp as well. And so like Jordan, you were there. Like you like there was who was it? What's the girl in your group? Her name, she had the best, like honestly the best footwork.
And she was dusting everybody.
Dusting everyone.
Yes.
And I was like, but I was like, it's just like stuff like that that's like super motivating to see like where our society is going. And I love that like more girls are interested in the game of football. Like let's keep growing it. Let's do it.
How much do you think the influence of a Sarah Fuller at Vanderbilt has on young girls, maybe thinking of football or flag football as a sport they want to pursue?
I think it's so big because a lot of times when you see someone that looks like you and you're like, they're doing, something, it gives you like that confidence. It makes you say like, wow, if she can do it, then I can do it. Like, or if he can do it, I can do it. And so like being able to see someone kind of, lead the way in a sense, like I think it's giving a lot of motivation for young girls to like tap into the game of football to be like, you know what, I can see myself doing this. Everybody has role models at the end of the day and like they have people they looked up to. And so a lot of times you use that, role model or whoever it may be that's ahead of you, use them as motivation. And I think that's what they can do with like a Sarah Fuller. So that's awesome.
And Morgan Salswell too. I just want to put that out.
And Morgan.
Of course. Yeah.
But let me pivot just a little bit. Because you were a DB, so this 7-on-7 means a whole lot more and different to you than what it would mean to me as a lineman, right? What do you put how much value do you put in 7-on-7? Because I know this has been a conversation so many times where some coaches they love it, some coaches don't really care about it. What do you see in it?
I think it is valuable for, being able to learn the game, being able to, do those, just work on your game in general. But I think there's also has to be an understanding of, what does this person do in pads? And a lot of times I think coaches may overlook that. They may see like the 7-on-7 and of course there's like always the potential, but is he or is she making those same plays in the game? And so I think coaches have to look into that as well. But I think 7-on-7 is great. I think it's a great recruiting tool. But I also think like I would rather see your game film. Like that's like let me see what you're doing in the game. Let me see if it's translating. I would rather see that and kind of go off of that before I go off of 7-on-7.
How much can 7-on-7 translate to actual game, kind of like, being in pads? Like, are there like 7-on-7 stars who just, it's a different thing when they put on the pads, or is that pretty translatable?
I think it just depends, like, cause you know, a lot of it, like some, some kids may not, hit or like there's like contact in 7-on-7, but there's not like the full on contact like you would have in a actual game. And so like, you want to see those things translate, like can this person hit, can this person like catch with pads on, can this person tackle, can this person for wide receivers like catch with pads on, like you just want to see all that stuff translate. And so for me, like I'm the person like, okay, I'm like, okay, this person can ball. Let me see what he can do in pads. So that's kind of like my next stepping stone. Like, okay, I can see what they do in flag. I'm like, all right, they balling. So let me see what they do in the game, like actual game. So
Waddy, as a lineman, did you even play 7-on-7?
Only at lunchtime.
Okay.
Only at lunchtime. That's it. But
Waddy was the man. We would go straight up to this man every if we wanted to score, throw it to Waddy.
Well, remember that one time? So Kevin, sometimes back when everything was open, we would go down to Levi's on one of their practice fields on Saturdays and do like some two-hand touch stuff. And I tell you, I still got the hands, and they don't drop anything. All right, they don't drop anything. I just want to tell you that right now.
David Shaw should have made you a tight end.
I tried to tell them. Sorry. In my next life, I'll be a tight end.
In high school though, did you like play tight end, or were you ever in a skill position, or you just always stuck on the line?
Defensive line is a skill position.
Yeah, excuse me. I forgot who I was talking to.
Oh man, but no, let's talk about some USC real quick. Obviously, so that's where Ryan went. We had a couple of matchups while we were playing in college. And Ryan, one of the things I've always said about the Pac-12 is, there's been that run where Stanford's been good, Oregon's been good, UW's been good. But I always tell people, at the end of the day, if we want to get that national relevance as a conference again, it starts and ends with USC. And so tell me what you've seen from them these last few years. Do you think they're working that way back? Do you think, a lot of people obviously they're split opinions on Clay Helton. Do you think they need to change that? Like, what do you think is the direction for USC?
So I think we're on the up, and a lot of it comes down to discipline. I think we have the talent, and it's a lot also comes down to keeping those highly ranked recruits in the state. Like a lot of them come from California, and a lot of them are going to Oregon, going to a Stanford, going to these different colleges out of state, and we're like losing out on some of those recruits. And so what we have to do is be able to say like, hey, like this is what we can offer, and get those recruits to stay. And if you can get them to stay, then that's going to better in the long run. So I think right now, I love Coach Helton. Coach Helton is a player coach, and I know he's taken a lot for being the nice guy, this and that, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when you have somebody that you like as a player's coach, that makes you want to play for them. And you want somebody that's going to go to bat for you in a sense. So I think for that, the main thing, but I think we can also be more disciplined. And I think that comes down to little penalties that we'll make during the game that could cost us, like it may be a third down and somebody gets a penalty and like that goes fourth down, like gets a first down. And it's stuff like that we can't have in big time games. Like you see, like that's where we struggle with. And so, yeah, I think with USC, keeping the recruits in the state, and then also, just that discipline factor, and, starting out like dominating from the get-go. I think sometimes it takes us a quarter or two to get warmed up, and then we come out and we start balling in like the third quarter and fourth quarter. I'm like, we can't have that against a good team. Like that's not going to fly. So,
Right.
That discipline is so important.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up about Clay Helton, because I've been a fan of his for a while, and I feel like sometimes the USC fan base can get completely irrational about some things, which every college football fan base does. That's not just exclusive to USC. But I mean, outside of the 1 5-7 year, all this guy has done is won. I mean, he took over as an interim head coach and took them to the Pac-12 championship game. He took them to, they won their first Rose Bowl in a long time under him. Last year, they were undefeated in the regular season, got to the Pac-12 football championship game. In 2019, they were 7-2 in the Pac-12. I know that the expectation is national championship or bust, but honestly, with where the Pac-12 is right now, like, a national championship really hasn't been in the equation for anybody on the West Coast. I think all he's done for the most part, outside of that one under 500 season, he's won a lot of games there.
Yes, he has.
He has. So, it's I'm just like, I think, like you said, USC in general fans are, national championship or Rose Bowl. And if it's not one of those, or if it's, I think a lot of times, fans get so up and up about like it being a close game. They want to dominate, or like they're doing it again. Like everybody gets they get so frustrated because it's like, little stuff that they feel like we should be like on top of, or like the game shouldn't even be close. But sometimes I feel like our team can, in a sense, play down to competition at times. And, like, it's one of the things where you, like, you dominate. You don't give the other opponent hope, because at the end of the day, when you, like, let them hang around for, like, a good amount of time, they're like, you know what? They start to get some confidence, like, oh, we can hang with these. Like, we can hang with USC, or we can do this and that. And, like, that's the last thing you want to do, is give a team hope and for them to get some momentum. And then, boom, like, it just all hits where, before you know it, they're taking the lead and they have all this momentum, when you could, like, stop that from the get-go of, like, dominating in the first, second quarter, and then, just coming out strong in general. So.
If you had to guess, USC will be back in the national championship picture by what year?
Ooh. This is a great question.
These are my favorite ones where they're stumped a little bit. I love these.
You know what? I would give it a few years to, one, kind of build on some of this new talent that is coming in. I would give it maybe like 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And one, because to build on these freshmen that are coming in, we have some like top recruits that are coming in now. So to get them some experience, and then once they get a little experience under their belt, get stronger, faster, and know the system, know how to play the game in a sense in college level, and know how to know what they're looking for in a sense, I think that will allow us. But I think it all comes down to like giving them the confidence, getting them like out there, and then also giving them some confidence and knowing, like, being able to be like, you know what, like, it comes down to like, it always, honestly, all it takes is one player. It literally takes one player that can change a whole trajectory of a team. Like, you saw a Sam Darnold did it, like, on that Rose Bowl run. Like, it takes one person. You see like a Cam Newton that came in. You see Johnny Manziel. Like, it all takes that one. You see a Reggie Bush. Like, all it takes is one. So if you can get that one person to just ball out, be that leader for the team, then that's all it takes. So
I'm curious what you think about USC's scheduling model, which I'm a big fan of. Like, I think USC and UCLA, I want to say, are like the only two Power 5 programs that have only scheduled FBS opponents since the split. I think it's something like that, because they always have a challenging, always Notre Dame is on the schedule. Mm-hmm. Then, they played Alabama, and they don't have like these big sky opponents or whatever. In the Pac-12, we don't play Charleston Southern the day after Thanksgiving like they do in other conferences. But,
SEC.
But like, how much do you think that might contribute to kind of a lesser record because they are every other year they're in South Bend? This year, San Jose State, which was undefeated in the regular season, Mountain West champion, mm-hmm. They're at Notre Dame, and then they have BYU, which had a very good season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say. Like, yeah, BYU is like always fine. Like, they always keep a nice squad, and San Jose State's balling too. Like it's good to see that also because like of course being in the Bay Area, we've done a lot. Our prep team has done a lot with San Jose State, and I've spoken to like some of their like student athletes, but I'm glad to see they're doing well and their program is on the up. But no, I think a lot of times they always say, but like the Pac-12 beats up on each other, and it's so crazy how that works out when it's a tough schedule, and but at the end of the day, you got to win. That's what it comes down to. Like you got to win those games. Like we can say Pac-12 is a tough schedule. We beat up on each other at the end of the day, but yeah, you just got to win those games, and um, it's so interesting how a lot of times this plays out because you never want to have that loss at the end of like the year because that could, in a sense, take you out of a national championship picture, a Rose Bowl picture. Like, so it's, if you want to have a loss, like you better do it early or like you don't want to have it at all. In general, you never want to have a loss, but if that's something you want to have it motivate you and like, you know what, let me get my stuff together. Let me like get serious. Like, those are a lot of times when you have those losses early in the picture, like it kind of humbles you in a sense and like makes you realize, okay, we need to step it up. And like this, we do not want this feeling at all again. And so hopefully that motivates them for the rest of the season.
So follow-up question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, and this is actually for both of you. Since Stanford USC is one of the best rivalries in the Pac-12, it has been since that great game in 2007. Great for some of us on this podcast, at least 2/3 of us, I'd say. What do you think of Stanford and USC playing in September every year, as it being one of the best rivalries? Should that game be in November more often?
Ryan, you want to take it first?
Honestly, I would like to see it in November. One that gives, a chance for the teams to really figure out their identity and really, I feel like it would give for a better matchup in a sense. But at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. It's always nice to see that, like, see Stanford. Like, that's always a game that's, look forward to. But I honestly would love to see it, like, a little bit later in the schedule, to be honest with you.
No, I'm right there with you. And I mean, especially from the Stanford standpoint, usually when we play SC, especially if it's at home, not everyone's on campus yet. And and for both of you, you know how Stanford games are. We need all the students we can get in that stadium. So that's one of the things for me I would love to see a little bit later. I mean, no earlier than I'd say October. I think, because then you have a little bit of a build up to it where usually it's like we'll play one out of conference game and then boom, here comes USC in like week 2 or week 3. And I think that's what USC is doing this year too, where they play San Jose State and then they play us. So yeah, I would like that build up. It would be cool if you could have a schedule or a scheduling model where you could have, say, I don't know, whoever finishes first in the North last year versus whoever was number 1 in the South. We're going to push that game back a little bit in the year just to have that build up, That's things like that. But yeah, I feel like it is a little too early. Yeah. All right. So Ryan, before we let you go, now it's part of one of my favorite segments. We're going coast to coast. All right. And of course, the whole thing of it is going to be you name a top 5 of a certain category that I'll give you, and it could be pretty much anything, anywhere, all across the country. Now, part of what you do with the 49ers is you help lead pep rallies and road games. So you've been to a lot of different cities, whether it's, I think you've been to New Orleans, you're talking about wanting to go to New York, a lot of different places. So for you, I want to give you the top 5 NFL stadiums you've been to.
Ooh. I would say interesting. Ooh. Does this have to be in specific order right now? Or
if you can give it in an order, yes. If not, just give like a top 5.
Okay, I'll give a top 5. In these, do I have to have been to a stadium where it's like an NFL game or just in general? Like, is this mainly based on the kind of like the ambiance of the stadium and like the is this based on like fans or like is this based on just like how it looks or like what are we basing everything on?
So yeah, let's go NFL games so that way you can give like their whole game day experience, how you thought it looked, the whole package.
Gotcha. Well, I would say we've only been on a few as of like road trips. I think I went to Tampa. I mean, we went to Houston my first year. We went to Tampa Bay my second, and then we went to New Orleans my third. But I think just in general, I would say New Orleans is definitely up there from a game day experience. One, just with how much there, and honestly, I'm not like, of course, like with us being from Atlanta, we're not the biggest New Orleans people at all. But but I think their game day experience is something else. And although it's a older stadium, I would say like that's one of the loudest stadiums I've been in. That's one of the toughest teams to play when they're at home. And like when they get an ounce of momentum, it is wild. That literally watching that from the sideline of the game was emotional roller coaster. Just
that game was
seeing how like
crazy.
the team fight. That was a crazy game, and that's like something that I'll always remember. That was one of my favorite games to go to. One because like just like their whole like the way the music that they were playing like before the game, they was playing some chopper style. They was playing like all these different like all this different like fire music, and they're just so just in tune with who they are. Like that's who that nation. Like cool. Like, but yeah, that's a tough place to play in. I would say. Um, who else? I think another experience as far as just um. Oh, it's tough because I haven't like I wouldn't say because some of the stadiums I've been in weren't through NFL games, so it makes it a little bit harder because I've only been to like um those three for like road games as far as like being on the sideline and seeing how they actually were. Another one I would say hmm,
You have been to the Coliseum too, technically, for a road game.
technically that yes, that was
Mm-hmm.
another one that was honestly an amazing experience as far as like playoff wise and like being in that setting, and it was cool to see how, of course, Falcons at that time, but
Yep.
it was cool to see how that was a packed stadium too, and I'm like really excited to like see the new stadium and see how like that comes into
Mm-hmm.
fashion. But that was another like, of course, I love the Cali and like that's home, so I would have that up there. I think although I did not I played there but didn't see an NFL game, I would say Seattle is another
Okay.
one that is like really cool to play in or just be there in because it's so loud.
Yes, it
And
is.
like the 12th man Montreux is like something that's like legit. Like that stadium is
Mm-hmm.
loud, and
Yes, it is.
it's so that would be another one. I would say, although I was there to watch a game. It was cool to really see like Jerry's World, cool to see the Cowboys Stadium, because although we kind of got that game in the game I'm thinking about,
Is that
but
the USC
Yeah,
Alabama?
USC Alabama.
yeah, yeah, but that was a really cool stadium to be in, and um, yeah, just like because I feel like his stadium kind of like spurred, everybody getting these new stadiums and everybody
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what, how can we get our stadium like Dallas Cowboys? How can we get it like Jerry's World? So that's another one. So how many is that? That's New Orleans, that is Seattle, that is Dallas, and that was the three, right? And then we got
Yeah.
two more. Um, hmm, I would say. Trying to think. Honestly, or yeah, you said away games too.
Yeah, you can't put Levi's down.
I was about to because I was like, I love that stadium. That's home. Like, um, let's see who else.
That boy's alarm probably when he wakes up tell me when to go.
Oh my, this man E40 be he be having the stadium lit. Who else? I would say. Hmm, who else? the Giants like Giants and Jets Stadium. That was actually a really cool stadium to be in, and
Seems like it.
yeah, it was dope to be in. So I would say that's up there as well for ones. And oh wait, who else? I'll give it to the last one will probably be given to
Say, have
I'll
you been to
probably
Nashville yet, or are you thinking about doing that one?
was thinking about doing that
Okay.
one. Haven't
Yeah.
been there yet. Or I've been there but not for an actual game. That
Right.
was I would say Houston was actually a really cool one too, just from a
Houston.
standpoint of like we had a kind of like of course we do these what we call like invasions, and so my boy Nick, he like puts those on, he runs those, and that was one of the like most lit ones because like everybody, like all the 49ers fans were there, and we went to this bar and just kind of like we were giving out prizes. It was packed. It was cool just to get some like good barbecue down there too. But like yeah, the stadium was super dope. And yeah, I would say Houston for another one. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
KD.
Nice. Yeah, so I haven't been to 5 NFL venues for NFL games. But I've been to 5. I think I've been to 5 stadiums like just for other stuff.
Okay.
So I mean, as a Raiders fan, Coliseum definitely. The Oakland Coliseum, definitely number one. I mean, that was my first ever NFL game. I was 10 years old. Within the first quarter, someone spilled beer on my mom, and like
No.
2 people who came to the game together, one in a Dolphins gear and the other in Raiders gear, got arrested for fighting each other. So, Raiders number one. Like that place was just super grimy. And I loved it. I had a chance. I'm also a Falcons fan. I had a chance to go to the Georgia Dome, the old
Rest
Georgia
in peace,
Dome.
man.
Yeah, for my 13th birthday.
RIP.
That was awesome. I went there for a Falcons Saints game too. But it was the
Oh,
year that
perfect.
Paul Anderson was hurt, so like both teams sucked. But it was still cool to be there. So yeah, that's number 2. I got a chance to go to the Houston Texans Stadium for the Sweet 16 when Stanford played Texas in 2008. That place is just ginormous and just like everything felt state of the art at the time. I'm gonna put the new Vikings Stadium, even though I haven't been inside, but like I went to Minneapolis as it, like right after it finished, and man, that thing it looks glorious. Big fan of that. And now I'm gonna put Levi's in the top 5. I really like that stadium, even though I'm not necessarily a Niners fan. I do hope they do well, and this will get me kicked out of the Bay Area. I will have my Bay card revoked for saying this, but at number 772 is Candlestick Park. Terrible. It was cold. It is always 45 degrees there. It was run down. I don't get people's fascination with that place. That place needed to be torn down, and thankfully it has been.
Oh my goodness.
Hold up. Oh man. I think it's
you
just
might
funny.
need to edit that last part out.
Oh no, that's hilarious. But I mean, the thing is, I feel like just like with one of the ones that might be on my list, I think the reason why people love it so much is because like even if it is a dump, like it was their dump. Like that is just it was people's home for so many years and like so many memories. Obviously, both baseball and football. So it was one of those. I think it was more one of those things of like the memories mean so much more to it of the place than the place itself.
Yeah, the place itself is trash.
I will not switch mine now.
Oh yeah,
I just thought about
Huh? What do you have to switch?
Oh, like actually, I'm taking out Houston. I'm like, how did I? Literally, when you think like when you're on the spot, you can't think. So I was thinking another one that is the Miami Dolphins Stadium. Off the chain. Like I'm like,
oh yeah,
and of
Super
course,
Bowl.
like I was like, how could I forget that? I'm like, so that was one like that was just, and of course, like it's the Super Bowl, so it's a different like feel, but just that stadium in general is beautiful. And for you, like when you're like walking to the bathroom, working to get like some food, like just being able to see an overview of Miami, like the Miami like skyline is super dope. So I thought that was another one. And then there was one more. I think I honestly really like the Arizona Cardinals dome. Like I
Yeah.
think that was
Yeah, that's
I
a
was
good
gonna
one.
add that one.
That one was like we went there for
Semper Fi.
what was it? Semper Fi, and I was
Yeah.
like that like atmosphere was amazing,
That
and
was
I was
fun.
like that's a really cool one as well. So I would add that one in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
so those two for sure.
Cool. All right. Let's see. For me, I'm only going to put one Atlanta Stadium on there. I won't put both. Easily the Georgia Dome. So the thing for me with new stadiums, like, don't get me wrong, I think they're awesome, but I've always been a person, if I'm going to a football game, I just need to see the game. I don't need all the extra suites and this club and that club. So for me, like the Georgia Dome was perfect. I like, don't get me wrong, the Benz is amazing. I've been there for Falcons game and for Atlanta United, and it's cool, but it's just like I could do without all the extra stuff because I don't need it. I don't pay attention to it. I'm here for the game. So yeah, it's easily Georgia Dome. Let's see, where else? I've also been to Tampa, so Tampa was pretty cool. Like, and I was young enough, so like when I saw the pirate ship for the first time, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Let's see, what else? Again, going back with that old school, the Metrodome. You want to talk about someplace that's loud?
Yeah, you were there.
The Metrodome is insanely loud.
You were there for one of the best moments in Vikings history.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, 98 NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's us 3? Like I said, I thought the Coliseum was really cool because that was my first time ever being in the stands. Like I'm used to being on the field and things of that nature. So to be in the stands and watching a game was really cool. Although I still need to talk to the Rams about that whole whose house, Rams house, because I think that's copyright infringement, if you ask me. Let's see, where else have I seen a game? See, I've been to Carolina. Yeah, Carolina's pretty cool. Been to New Orleans. I need to go back to New Orleans because I was a kid, so obviously I didn't get the whole New Orleans experience. And you know what? I'll say Levi's because I do have fun. I do have fun when I go to games at Levi's. I mean, I've talked to Ryan about this before, and I think it's more so me being scarred by Phillips Arena. So back when Phillips was in his first, before they changed it to State Farm, they had like all the suites were like on one side, and I couldn't stand it. So like the fact that Levi's is like that too is just like that same triggering factor for me. That's like my main thing with the stadium. Besides that, like I'm cool with it, Besides, the Niners always show me love too, so there's that too.
Nice. Oh man.
Also, I can tell how much fun you had in the Super Bowl because you said you forgot that you were even there. So that just it was a great time in Miami, huh?
I'm trying to blank that memory out because the end result.
Oh my goodness!
I was just gonna say the first 50 minutes of that game were great.
Hey, the first 50, like the last like 8, but it's goodness gracious. No,
listen, I can relate.
Yeah.
Struggles, but
I can relate.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I'll go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I haven't been to one in Mercedes-Benz yet. I was like that as far as like a Falcons game, man.
It's cool, man. I mean that place is huge. And it was that was what 2-3 years ago. Like the first year it was there. It was really cool, man. I mean, it's in my opinion though, it's just different. And I mean, you've been to games in the Dome, Kevin. Like you say, you've been to one.
Yeah.
It was just a different vibe in the Georgia Dome. Where you didn't have to worry about the PSLs. Like it was just whoever wants to go to a Falcons game, go on in. Right. You had all the big. There was always this one big smoker grill that was on one corner that you walk by, and they'd have like a huge tailgate. Like I don't think they ever went to games. They were just always out there tailgating, partying, and would throw. Like I remember my mom, she sent me a video after they beat the Seahawks. I think this was that Super Bowl run. So they beat the Seahawks, and like the whole street is just blocked off because everyone's out dancing and partying. You know, so it was like the Georgia Dome was just a vibe for me, man. That's what it was.
The Georgia Dome is absolutely awesome. That's home right there. Because just seeing the games in general, and then like playing there too has been like super dope. So it.
You just had to bring that up, huh? You had to bring that up. Some of us didn't get to play in the Georgia Dome, Ryan.
Is that for state championships?
Yeah, that's for state championships.
Yeah. So I'm like that, but that Seahawks game in general, though, that was one that was just amazing, and just to see like everybody come together afterwards. Like, of course, everybody turns up before, but like literally, like Falcons fans all over just turning up afterwards was like awesome. Like people that you've never met in your life are like welcoming you and like what's up, like dancing, everything. So the Dome was home for sure.
I know everybody in Magic City got paid that night. All right. We're going to let you go, man. Enjoy the rest of the birthday. I appreciate you hopping on, my guy.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Looking forward to catching up with y'all soon, hopefully once everything calms down.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. We got some restaurants to go to out here for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everyone. Welcome back from the A to the Bay podcast. Kevin Dana, Jordan Watkins. We just had my guy, Ryan Dillard, on talking a little bit about everything really around under the football umbrella. But yeah, Katie, I think, again, one of the big things for me that I loved getting out of that, again, was just talking about the increased participation, I think, from girls and women and just all the different levels, right? You talked about skills camp, talked about other camps. And of course, in high school, a lot of people were starting flag football too. That gets me excited because I know for me, as some of the most knowledgeable people about football for me growing up in my life were women too. So that was cool for me to hear.
Yeah, I was really intrigued by the potential of like flag football at the high school level. It wasn't something I necessarily thought of until this conversation with Ryan. Because of, with all the concussion worries and stuff, here's like a way to play football and not get a concussion or have less of a chance to get one, taking out like the full contact that, playing in pads would. So, yeah, I found that very interesting. And, hopefully Sarah Fuller wasn't the last, right? Like hopefully we have more that make an impact on the college level in the years to come and in the near-term future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we will, especially because I think about the last time we had a D1 women football player. That did not go too well, at least in terms of things that happened potentially in the locker room, things of that nature. Obviously, I don't want to get too much into it. But the overall reception, though, that you saw with Sarah Fuller was completely different. At least it felt different. And where you had, obviously you still had the haters were in the, was it Mizzou game where she had the squib kick to the sideline and that's all she could kick. That's it. Like, this is just a publicity stunt. And then it's the guys, right? It wasn't just the women. It's men saying that's what the coach told her to do. Like, she actually kicked that perfectly. Yeah. So that was good to see, and obviously she was part of the inauguration ceremony. So it was really cool. It definitely felt different.
Yeah. No. Hey. Don't let nuance get in the way of someone making a sexist argument, right, Waddy?
It's all about the agenda, right?
Yeah.
we only saw that for the last week or so too. But yeah, so let's wrap things up. I think as we talk today, we're about 1 week away from opening day for baseball. So that's about to get picked up. I'm excited. I'm waiting to see the new way my Braves can break my heart this year. Because, I always expect it. I just expect it now. How do you see them looking, and how do you think that the rest of the divisions are going to shape up?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I just think back to all the opportunities the Braves had against the Dodgers, right?
Seriously.
So close. So close. But Yeah, no, it's gonna be an interesting year. Back to playing a full 162. I don't see any reason as to why there would be a drop off for Atlanta. This is, it gets started in Philadelphia. That's a really nice park. If we did a top five for major league parks, well,
It's
Philadelphia
coming.
wouldn't be in there, but and I've been to like 20 something parks. So
Okay.
yeah, no, I don't see why the Braves wouldn't compete for the NL East again like they have in recent years and have been very successful in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. They made some free agency moves, right, to help with the rotation, with the Charlie Morton and the Drew Smiley, I believe. But really, all they had to do in terms of rotation to even get better there was just get healthy. And so once Soroka comes back, obviously we saw how well Ian Anderson was last year. You have those two guys. So they're looking pretty solid. And since they re-signed Marcelo Ozuna, I think that
That
once
was the
again that
big thing.
offense, it was huge. It was huge.
Yeah.
That offense once again is going to be right up there with one of the best in the league.
Yep.
So I think they should four-peat in the division. And then, of course, the only question is, what are you going to do when you play those elites? Because now, before it was the way I used to say in the National League, it was the Braves and the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers were obviously a level above the Braves, but those were your two best teams.
Yeah.
Now, you've got these other guys coming in too. Whether it's the Mets made their additions, the Cardinals made some additions, the Padres were big time buyers this offseason.
Big time.
And then, of course, the team that was ahead of you, all they did was sign Trevor Bauer. So, now it's like you said, you had all these opportunities to take advantage. You didn't do it. Now, congrats. Like, you're still going to be good, but so many other teams are better now too. So, good luck with that.
I will say, as I look at the Braves roster, like I do like the depth in the outfield. I mean, you have Acuna and Ozuna there, and then you could either flip between like Inciarte and I really like Pache last year.
Oh, I love Pache.
So like that is your top four in the outfield, and then of course the infield depth when you have an Ozzie Albies, an Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, a Freddie Freeman, of course, Johan Camargo's there. Like they've definitely got the talent to run this back. But yet, I mean, the Padres, I mean, in addition to all the like acquisitions they had, how about dropping $340 million on Tatis as well?
Yeah.
So I think they set themselves up very nicely, and to really make a push for for the NL West there and being really competitive with the Dodgers.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's still going to be the Dodgers in the West, but it's not just going to be a cakewalk. Because now, you're talking about a young team, and we mentioned this with basketball. As soon as one of these young teams get that experience, that playoff experience, I know it was a different setup last year than usual, but once you give a young team that playoff experience, they understand it, they want more of it, and they start expecting to be there. It's no longer a surprise. So, yeah, I mean, when I look at it, I mean, like I said, Braves, I think will win the East. The Central, St. Louis. I think St. Louis will be back in the Central, and then the Dodgers in the West. I think those are my three division winners on the NL side.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to disagree with those, just with how well the Braves and Dodgers have been and kind of the institutional power that the Cardinals are. I'm looking at the Baseball America predictions, kind of like 2021 season preview, and they do not disagree with us.
See, we should be writing for so many other people. We're doing their work for free.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right, American League.
Yeah, American League. So the East is interesting to me. And it's basically a two-team race, I think, with Tampa Bay. Why? Because they always just find a way to do more with less. And, of course, the big spenders, the Yankees. I think the Blue Jays are going to be a fun team. I think they're going to be one of those that they'll catch somebody slipping. I just don't know if they're ready yet to be that contender for the division just yet.
Yeah.
So I'll still just go Yankees. Again, when you're paying all that money out, you better win something. So I'll go them. In the Central, I like the White Sox. I
They
do.
they were really impressive last year,
Yeah,
and it didn't work out against the A's in the postseason. But yeah, no, I mean Giolito is really tight. They got a
hmm
really strong rotation there.
strong and a lot of really strong young bats too.
Yeah,
That we got to see on display last year, and then in the West, you know what? Let's. I'm gonna go Seattle.
really.
I'm gonna pick Seattle, and the reason why is, well, I guess I really don't know the reason why. I just,
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where when I was looking at them last year, again they got off to a pretty hot start,
Oh yeah, they were
and
like 13-2, right?
yeah, they were killing it. And so I want to see them build off that. And one thing for me is I always have a little bias too to like some of the Orlando with another trade, but
Ooh.
yeah, it looks like Aaron Gordon's going to Denver.
Oh, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa!
so
San Jose boy, Aaron Gordon.
that's their third trade of the day, I think, because Fournier went somewhere too, I want to say.
Whoa,
So they're sellers.
man.
Yeah, like I said, this is the great thing about the trade deadline. We're talking about baseball, and the next thing you know, here comes a Woj bomb.
Progress. Oh yeah, I'm seeing the Sean's tweet. Yeah, done deal a minute ago.
Yeah,
Ooh, and Gary Harris off to the Magic.
Gary Harris
I
going to
wonder.
okay.
There's got to be something else. There's
I've
got to
always
be
been
like.
a Gary Harris fan.
I do like me some Gary Harris. He was on
Yeah.
my fantasy basketball team a couple of years ago.
All right, but yeah, the West. Actually, no, I think I take it back. I don't.
No takebacks, Waddy. We learned that in elementary school.
It's all right. I didn't guarantee it yet. Shout out Charles Barkley. No, I mean
Guarantee.
he's never right either. But
Never.
I love the A's. I want to go for them, but they let so much go this
Yeah.
offseason. So I don't.
Chris
I just
Davis,
they're going to take a step back.
Elvis Andrews back.
Yeah. Where I mean, same thing with Houston though. Where Houston, obviously, I think that's going to be everyone's favorite. L2 and all those guys are back, but they still lost a little bit last year too. Springer's gone now. I think he's in Toronto. But when I look at it, the Angels, we've always hoped they could take that next step, and so you can get Mike Trout on a national level.
That's what you want.
Yeah, it's what you want. I don't see it. I'll go easy, Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with that. Like I just, and as a Bay Area, even though I don't like the Giants at all, or didn't like the Giants, now I'm a little more ambivalent. Could care kind of less one way or another. I mean, those early 2000s teams growing up in the Bay Area with Dusty Baker, like I do have a soft spot for that part of the Houston Astros. Maybe not the whole cheating part, but
Right.
that wasn't Dusty. That was pre-Dusty. I'm gonna go with the Rays in the East.
Okay.
Just like what they've been able to do. And yeah, I like the White Sox as well in the Central. Really impressed with them in the shortened season. And all right, yeah, Tony La Russa certainly has some baggage, but he's a hell of a manager.
Yes, he is.
There's not much to dispute that. So I'm gonna go with those as my division winners.
And I mean, the big thing for that too with Tony La Russa, apparently Tim Anderson's bought in with him. So that I think that goes for something with how the feel of that clubhouse is. I mean, one of their best players and also one of their most well-known players in the league too. So that was huge. So yeah, those are your division winners. Do you have an idea who we're going to see in the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. And you know what? I'm gonna go Cardinals Yankees out of the wild card.
Okay.
Spot. And I'm gonna go with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay, St. Louis Cardinals. I will go. It's always about pitching.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be. Doggone it! Why am I going to do this? I'm going the Braves in the NL.
Oh.
I could.
Come on, you already know that's not going to happen.
I couldn't fight it. I just couldn't fight it. And that's off of a MVP season for Ronald Acuna. Freddie Freeman will finish third. And in the AL, yeah, I'm gonna go a little throwback series for you. One that the Braves should have won. It'll be Braves Yankees.
Oh, don't remind me of '96.
I know. Shout out to Andrew Jones, by the way. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Oh man, no one made it look easier in center field.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, it was a game 1 or 2, like 2 homers, the youngest to hit 2 homers in a World Series game.
He was 19, right?
Yeah, it was like 19.
Oh. And up 5-0 in Game 3.
Oh my goodness! Like everyone knows, and because social media was around, everyone always gives the Falcons the load for a 28-3, and rightfully so. But when you look at what the Braves blew in those 90s and early 2000s, in my opinion, some of those are a whole lot worse.
Yeah,
than 28-3, in my opinion.
91, you have to send the runner from third.
Yep.
And Kent Herbeck pushed. I think it was Gant off first.
Yes, he did. Ron Gant pushed him off.
Absolutely pushed him off. They got screwed there. 92, you had a chance. You won Game 1 against the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
Lost that series in 6. 96 is probably the most frustrating
most
one
hurtful.
of them.
Yeah.
You're up 2-0. The 99 series never really had a chance. But 91 and 96 in particular, 92 as well. I thought, after the Game 1 that Damon Berryhill had in 92, I was almost 6 years old. I was like, all right, we're going to do it this year. And then I was frustrated that they didn't beat the Phillies in 93 LCS. But yeah.
I mean, you keep it going. There was 05 losing to the Astros.
Oh, the Astros
in
18 innings.
18 innings.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. That was my freshman year.
Yeah, I remember that. There was, we talked about last year blowing a 3-1 lead, and just the worst base running possible to help do that.
Real.
And you gave up, in one of those games, you gave up the second most runs in the first inning in playoff history, because the year before you gave up the most runs in a single inning in playoff history.
God.
So there's just so many things where it's like, 28-3 was bad, but the Braves consistently did this in the playoff time, and so they hurt more
year after year.
Yeah. But that will do it for another episode. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. As we mentioned, we'll have some updates coming on the Twitter feed soon about where you can find not just the video. We'll keep trying to post the videos as well, but just audio. Maybe, you have some cleaning, got a road trip, and you want to check us out. So you'll be able to do that soon, too. We will let you know about that. But in the meantime, everyone, thanks again. Stay safe, and we will see you soon.
Peace.